Okay. Good evening. Thank you for the few people who said it back. But try it again. Good evening. Amazing. Wonderful energy for a Friday evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Adil Dalla. I'm the Executive Director here at the Center for Social Innovation Toronto. And on behalf of our team and our board and our community, I would love and I have the honor to welcome you here today for a fireside chat with Dr. Muhammad Yunus and Tanya Sermon. So I'm going to stand to the side so you guys can get cozy in here. So for those of you who haven't been here today, you are at the Center for Social Innovation, specifically our CSI Annex location. And just to give you a bit of context, this space is home to about 250 social mission organizations, entrepreneurs, innovators who come here each and every day, who work on all sorts of different kinds of work, but collectively have a shared vision and a shared responsibility and a shared value system around putting people and planet first. And together, they join the thousands of other CSI members between our 4 spaces here in Toronto, built around the idea that we are better working together, particularly when we're working on ideas around improving our communities. So that's where you are today. But it's also important for me to acknowledge that where we are today is the traditional territory of many Indigenous communities and cultures, including the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Huron-Wendat, Seneca, and the Mississaugas of Credit River. It's important for us to acknowledge the fact that we are here and have the privilege of being here, and that we have the opportunity to learn about the truth of our past and to take the time to reconcile regarding it. Grounding it in this conversation tonight, I also want to acknowledge that we have the opportunity to think about, as we look forward, what were our learnings from the past and what mistakes do we not want to make again? And going forward, how do we ensure, based on what's happened in our past, that we prioritize and keep paramount our relationships with each other and with our planet? So you're here tonight, and I want to give you a bit of a backstory as to how this all unfolded. About 5 months ago, we started this Fireside Chat series, and our first speaker was a gentleman named Ian Black, who wrote a book. Among many things, Ian's an incredible social entrepreneur from the UK, and Ian wrote a book recently called The A to Z of Social Entrepreneurship, and it basically does the alphabet and attributes all these elements of social entrepreneurship to each letter in the alphabet. So there's A for anxiety, there's N for networks. And when I went through it, I had this moment where I noticed Y was for Yunus. And it was an interesting moment because nowhere else in the book was a particular individual mentioned. And it was interesting but not surprising. On a personal note, about 7 or 8 years ago, I was working in Tanzania on microlending technologies there with rural farmers. And when I asked where are we learning how to do what we're doing, the only playbook in town was that of the Grameen Bank. And subsequently, working in the space of social entrepreneurship and innovation, when people ask, tell me about the successes here, tell me about the people I should know, one name consistently comes up. So when Paul Samard reached out to Barnaby Geis, who manages a lot of our events and our impact and acceleration work here, Paul said, we have this opportunity for Dr. Yunus to come visit you at CSI, and we jumped at that opportunity. And then subsequent to that, over the last couple of months, Barnaby, who I will add is one of the leading minds in the city around impact measurement and acceleration, and Barnaby has organized this event, and then he went to one of our long-standing partners, Alterna, and he said, Alterna, can you help enable this event to happen? Now, I should provide some context. Alterna, as a organization, has been one of our longest standing friends. They gave us a bank account when no one would give us an account. They joined us in creating a financial instrument called a community bond that allowed our community to invest with us in purchasing this building. And when we said, will you help us in sponsoring this evening? They said, of course. So to Barnaby for creating this event, for Paul for catalyzing, and for Alterna for enabling, please join me in giving them all a big round of applause. And I want to talk a little bit about all of you. So first of all, you're here. Time is our greatest asset. So thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it. And thank you as well for all of you for purchasing your tickets. So I should let you know something pretty exciting about that. Because of Alterna's contribution to ensure this night could be possible, we are able to put all of the revenue from tonight into a new training program for social entrepreneurs. And by the end of this year, we'll have trained over 100 entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for enabling that. So I'm going to get off the stage and I'll just add a couple last pieces just around the format and flow for this evening. So there are books available at the cafe, which you can purchase. You can also purchase anything else you'd like from the cafe. There will not be an opportunity at the end to get those books signed by Dr. Yunus. So I just want to manage those expectations. With that said, if you want to get your book signed by somebody else in the audience, that's possible. Very easy to do. I'm sure they'll be really happy about it. The other things to mention, I mean, that's basically it. For those of you who are new here, there are washrooms over there as well. And that would be about it. So in terms of the flow for the evening, we're going to do a first question, kind of a conversational period between Dr. Yunus and Tanya, and then we'll open it up to questions. And I'll just caveat by saying, they're just meeting for the first time tonight. So with the Fireside format, we try to be more conversational and organic, less kind of a prepared speech format. And they've also already done this, as you all know, earlier today. And preceding that, Dr. Yunus has been on a journey to get to Toronto, which I believe in total took about 50 hours and many different planes and tarmacs and et cetera. So behind me is an incredible Ashoka Fellow, an incredible Nobel Prize winner. It is such an honor to be here with them. They are bringing it after what I know has been a tiring day, and they're both excited to be here. So please give me a large round of applause for this audience, for these folks here today.
Here we go again. Yeah, let's go. First of all, welcome. Welcome, everyone. That's right. Welcome. Hey. Isn't this an amazing way to spend Friday night? Oh, yeah. How many people for whom, I'm going to sentence structure that. How many people are here at the Center for Social Innovation for the first time? Wow. Wow. We have a very different audience, Dr. Yunus. It's going to be great. How many people would say that they are social entrepreneurs? Okay, nice. I think I've got another one too in there. How many people are actually connected to the Bangladeshi community? Okay, look at that. It's a nice mix. There you go. Dr. Yunus and I met earlier today, and I was giddy with joy at getting the opportunity to actually sit with one of my personal life heroes. Wow. It's just so good, so good. And very, very exciting. But now I just think he's so cool after spending a couple hours with him. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. So it's amazing how wonderful I feel, and such a privilege and a pleasure to be up here to be able to welcome you to the Center for Social Innovation. For those of you that are new, the Center for Social Innovation is a not-for-profit social enterprise that provides collaborative workspace and accelerates over 1,000 social enterprises. The building that you're in, as Adil explained, is a building that we were able to purchase through the power of a community bond, which was really an embodiment of community coming together to be able to reclaim a piece of Toronto, a tiny, tiny little piece, to be able to put it in service to the community. And I explained that to you because after our earlier conversation with you, Dr. Yunus, this afternoon, what is so amazing is what people can achieve when they bring a human-centered approach into how we co-create a better economy. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. And I know that we'll also get an opportunity to get a few questions, and I invite those questions to really be looking at how we are able to, as citizens in Toronto and as Canadians, how we ourselves can be looking at how we can be more actively engaged in co-creating an economic system that actually puts people and planet first. That's where I think you're going to find we got a little bit of alignment. So welcome to our crazy cold country. And it's not always like this. It gets really hot in the summer, so it's not a very balanced place that way. I'm going to start at the beginning because I think it's really important with so many new people in the room that we go and we just go back in time and give you an opportunity to explain in a short way sort of where did this all come from? What is this crazy thing called microfinance, and what started your career in this field?
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be with you and get a chance to talk to you and see through discussions we can clarify some of the things that we have been after for a long time and see where we can take it to. As you asked, how did it begin? First thing that I should clarify that it was not something that I have been planning for a long time to do, designing something to do. It was really a spur of the moment thing. It's a kind of jumping at something without knowing what you're jumping at. It was an action of desperation. When you are desperate, you do something you don't think about, and you do that. So that desperation came because of the ugly scene that I had seen in the villages of Bangladesh next door to the university where I was teaching in the mid-70s. Ugliness is about the loan sharking in the village. I did lots of other things in the village, but this one kept on growing and growing in front of my eyes, and I cannot just walk away from it. You read about it, but the loan sharking is a traditional thing everywhere, not only in Bangladesh, globally. But when you see face to face, seeing the victim of the loan shark and the loan shark himself, who victimized other people in the same village, you cannot believe that a human being can be so cruel to each other. And it's happening right in front of my eyes. And I look back, I've gone through schooling in Bangladesh and studied economics. And throughout all the years that I spent learning about economics, I've never seen anything talked about loan sharking. So I said, what did I learn? Which just never gave me the idea how to handle this kind of thing. So I blame my learning that it has not prepared me to address a situation which is very relevant to economics. So I thought economics, to that extent, is not equipped to deal with human problems. So when I was blaming myself and fuming within myself for not being able to do something, I was wondering how to address this issue even if I'm not familiar with this before. One idea came to my mind and I jumped at it. Why don't I lend the money myself? That idea was very simple. If I lend the money, people don't have to go to the loan shark, they can come to me. They have a choice to go to the loan shark or to come to me. And if they come to me, the victimization is over. They will not be victimized for the work I'll be doing with them. So I was not sure whether people will see it that way. Then I explained to them, I heard everything that you said. I learned everything that you told me. Next time you need money, don't go to loan shark, come to me, I'll give you the money. People couldn't believe that I'll do such a thing. They thought I was joking or making remarks which I'll not carry out. But I was very serious. Then people started coming to me for money. I started giving money out of my own pocket. It's not something that I had to go to some place, give some big project proposal, or I didn't even think about that. as an academic in a situation like that, probably I would have written a research proposal to study for the next 3 years before I find out why this loan sharking, how long, who is doing what. I had nothing to do with that. And I started lending money out of my pocket. And gradually it became very popular. More people came, more so easy money. So everybody wanted to have the money. And the more people came, the more excited I got. Because in my mind, I was translating it, it must be beneficial for them. That's why they are so happy. That's why they are coming. So I wanted to give more and more. And over time, as months went by, years went by, a couple of years in the beginning, it became very popular. Not only in the same village, also neighboring village and so on. It became so popular at one time I thought, why don't I transform it into a bank so that they don't have to go to a bank to find money which no bank will give them. So another new struggle began for me to how to create a bank for the poor people. It doesn't have any example of it. Government didn't like the idea. They said, are you crazy? Have a bank for the poor people? We have a lot of trouble creating bank for the rich people. They never pay back. So you want to create more problem for us. So I said, no, these people are paying back. That's why I'm encouraged and I want to do that. So finally, after a long struggle, we got the permission from the bank, from the government to create a bank. And we created a bank called Grameen Bank, or Village Bank. We started lending the first amount of money in 1976, and we grew up in the 76, and then we became a bank in 1983. So this is the time that we have to do it in our own way. Once we became a bank, it became very easy because now I can expand it as much as I want because all I have to do is to take deposit and lend money to the poor people. That's how it began. And gradually it is spread over the whole country.
Amazing. Amazing. And that was 1976 until 1983 that it took you to kind of evolve and innovate that model. You opened the bank. I'm sure it was not an easy process. And now we're going to go into some areas we didn't go earlier because I realize you and I are going to get into a road if we don't go. And also there's ginger tea for you if you want some here. It's hot. So, you know, the Grameen Bank was an amazing success. And as you've said, people were gravitating and looking at how they could replicate the model. And the uptake, as globally recognized, it's now transforming communities around the world, in the developing world, all the way into the developed world. And at a certain point in your journey, I wonder if you can talk about how you made the switch from microcredit and what that pathway was into this social business and what you see the difference as and why you started to make that switch.
I didn't make any switch in narration when we do the microcredit and we talk about social business. There's look like a jump from microcredit, but that's not how it happened. It happened in a very continuum. As a continuum. One thing led to another thing, one step to another thing. Even we didn't realize what we were doing. Only looking back, hey, what are we doing?
So rarely do we know what
so
we're
different.
doing. Yeah.
So first, microcredit, lending money. And then we got interested in many things in the microcredit to emphasize on the welfare of the people, how to improve their life and so on. We got involved with something called 16 decisions so that they not only take the money, also become aware of what they want to do in future. What is the direction they will take. This grew within Grameen Bank over years, one by one. It's not suddenly somebody wrote up 16 decisions that you have to do that. It came from their own discussions one by one. It took about 5 years to come to the 16 decisions. And they were adding more and more as the years passed by. I pleaded with them, don't add any more, because 16 is already a long list of things to do. It's a kind of to-do list. And I said, why don't you stop at 16? Let's first implement all those 16. And once we have done that, then we'll take over the second list, what else to do. And they agreed to that, concentrated on implementing those 16 decisions. And decisions like we shall send our children to school, make sure they stay in school, because their parents, the women who borrowers, they never went to school in their life. And their husbands never went to school. No family members ever went to school, ever. So we wanted to make sure the children become the first generation who went to school and stay in school and have literate people coming out of those families. So that was one of the decisions that was involved in everybody's mind, that this is what we have to do. And many other things, like we shall not take any dowry at the time of the marriage of our son. We shall not give any dowry at the time of the marriage of our daughters. This is almost like a religion. You cannot challenge that. And people get very scared when you say you don't want to give any dowry. We said, look, you don't have to worry about other people. We just talk about ourselves. What is good for us, nobody can change that. So if you think this is right, let's do that. Women understood it very well, because dowry was a curse in their life. Many girls commit suicide because of this dowry, and many unpleasant things happen in the families because of the dowry. But nobody can change it because it became part of the religion. It's not religion, but it's treated almost like a religion because it benefits people who want to marry their son. They get lots of money from the other crowd. So the discussions took place, and finally everybody agreed that this is our decision. We shall not give any dowry at the time of the marriage of our daughter. We shall not take any dowry at the time of the marriage of our sons. We made it simple to them. Look, dowry has not been imposed on you by somebody. This is your decision. You do that. When it comes to the marriage of your daughter, you get so scared. How am I going to get all the money to marry off my daughter? And you have to sell everything, his house, belongings, everything, just to make sure. But a mother is not only a mother of a daughter, she is also a mother of a son. The same mother who is scared to death and kind of worrying about how to marry off her daughter, when it comes to the son's marriage, she's looking around who can give the best dowry. I said, you are the same person. So instead of going through all this terrible experience, why don't you make it simple? You don't give and you don't take. And the problem is solved. You're the cause of the whole problem. So you decide, no taking, no giving. It was such a big decision for them to take and stick to that. And luckily, they took it very seriously and made sure every marriage takes place. They said, don't worry about other people. Within Grameen families, we have plenty of daughters, we have plenty of sons. We can do it within ourselves. Don't worry about other people. So that's how it went. So there are 16 of those decisions, and that came. And then we saw the problem of healthcare, problem of sanitation, and many other problems. So we wanted to address that one by one. Whenever I focused on something, to address that, I came up with the idea of doing it in a business way. So I did it in a business way, like I tried to address the problem of night blindness among the children of the families, because children cannot see at night. After sun goes down, children become blind. And in medical terms, this disease is known as night blindness. And the cure for the night blindness is vitamin A. It's a vitamin A deficiency which makes it happen. So when I discussed with the doctors, they said, well, what you can do, you can give them vitamin tablets, or you can encourage them to eat vegetables. Vegetables have lots of vitamin A. So I encouraged them to eat vegetables. Didn't go to the tablets because it's a complicated thing for them. But nobody paid any attention to vegetables and so on. So another idea I had, why don't I sell the vegetable seeds to them? So that if they have the vegetable seeds, then they will grow and they will eat. And I started selling vegetable seeds. Made it very simple, beautiful, 1 penny packets, just 1 penny for any seed you buy. And it became a very popular thing in the village. They bought it, their neighbors bought it. And then as Grameen Bank grew, our seed business grew. And at one time, we came to a level where we became the largest vegetable seed seller in the whole country. And by that time, night blindness totally disappeared from the country. Wow. So that encouraged us to do things in a way, make things happen. So one thing led to another. This is one vegetables seed thing. Another was sanitation. We wanted to make sure that everybody has a toilet in their home. They don't have to go out in the open. So we started a business to do that and made it happen. And Bangladesh became one of those countries which has toilets in every village, in every home. This is a fantastic achievement for the village because they couldn't believe that you have to have toilets in the family. This is just traditionally you go out in the open. So this is a kind of changes that you bring to that. And we did it in a way so that it becomes a sustainable thing, so that they get paid and there's no problem of sustaining itself to continue itself. And these are the things gradually grew in many directions. And then we looked around and said, this is a new kind of business we are doing. And I would say this is a business to solve problem rather than make money. And people said, what kind of business is this? It's no business. It doesn't look like a business. I said, why doesn't it look like a business? Because we spend money, we produce something, either we sell a service or we sell a product. In the case of seeds, we are selling the seeds. So it's a business. They pay and we give them the seeds. So this is a business. No, but you're not making a profit. I said, is there any law in Bangladesh that if you don't take profit out of your business, you'll be jailed? I said, there is no such law. All I have decided not to take the profit for myself. Profit should stay with the business and plow it back to make it bigger. I'm not interested in making profit, personally. So that become a big debate, whether it's a genuine business or this is kind of a funny business, which doesn't have any business. That led into a big controversy with the formal academic people. I'm saying it's a genuine business. They said, no, this is not a business. And they say, even if you say, call it a business, this cannot continue. I said, why not? If I want to continue, can anybody stop me? I said, I don't see anybody can stop me. They said, you know what? What you have done, you destroyed the whole idea of business. I said, how did I destroy the whole idea of business? Because profit is the incentive in business. If you take away profit from the business, business is done, finished. That will not grow anymore. It will be the end of the business. I said, I accept your argument. Only one part, that profit is an incentive, not the incentive. There are many incentives in life. So profit could be one of those incentives. There are other incentives in life. I said, they asked me, what kind of incentives you see? I don't see anything. I said, I see a lot of incentives. Then I made it a very simple thing to communicate with them. I said, look at it this way. Making money is a happiness. That's why it's an incentive. You make more money, you make more happy. That's how you feel it. So making money is a happiness, but making other people happy is a super happiness. That's an incentive, big incentive. I said, I enjoy the super happiness. So I get very mesmerized by the thing that I do because it encourages me. I said, it's a question of what makes you feel happy. It's not about money, it's not about things. It's about your happiness, what makes you happy. It makes me happy when I see things happening because I did something and it touches people's life. I said, touching people's life is a kind of very, what should I say, something that grabs you. Once you have done that, you cannot walk away from it. It's such a grabbing thing that you get. Once you have done it, you want to do more because you can't stop doing more. I said, that's attractiveness. That's the incentive in doing things for other people. I said, that's why social business is attractive, although you don't see any profit in it, in money terms. But you see the excitement that it creates in you because you have done, helped, you touch people's life. That is the most exciting thing that anybody can do. So this is how arguments went, and we continue to do the social business.
Yeah. So, and you are rich in all of the things that are not cash, but all about the relational richness and about how that kind of flourishes. It's an amazing story, and listening to you, I can just imagine you trying and experimenting with all of these different businesses. And how many did you say that you've got businesses running now? Some outrageous number.
Many.
Like 60 businesses.
60 businesses in Bangladesh. And number keeps increasing every day. We are always talking about next one and the next one and the next one. Yeah, it goes on and on. Keeps increasing. Some of them are nationwide companies, big companies.
Give us some examples.
Like example, one would be Like after sun goes down in Bangladesh, in the old days when we were doing it, the whole country becomes dark because there's no electricity in the village. If you look carefully, you'll see dim light of kerosene lamp, tiny, tiny kerosene lamps. Hardly you can see. And I grew up in village in Bangladesh, like many of our generation. And we have to study under those kerosene lamps. Hardly you can see what you're reading, all your homework and everything you have to do, the kerosene lamp, that's all you got. And I feel sad. So I go around, I see, we have come a long way from the cave age. It's okay in the cave you have the kerosene lamp if you didn't have the kerosene lamp there. But still, after all these years, still we have the kerosene lamp. It still cannot bring electricity to people. Then I've started discussing, can we bring solar energy in? I have no idea how the solar energy works. I'm not a physicist or a scientist to know that. I read on the newspaper that solar energy does this kind of thing. So I talked to the experts. They said, no, it doesn't fit into Bangladesh situation. It's good for North of America and Europe and so on. It's expensive. You can't do it in Bangladeshi village. I said, why not? I said, expensive. I said, expense is a relative matter. If a gain is more, expense works out. It's no problem. So they didn't encourage us. I said, no, let's concentrate on that. Let's do that. We created a company, as usual, to solve the problem.
One more time.
We called it Grameen Shakti or Grameen Energy to bring solar energy. So I started bringing solar panels and the batteries and all those peripherals to do that. And it works beautifully, you have no problem. But I cannot sell them. People say, no, it's expensive. We don't want to buy that. The kerosene lamp is okay with us. And some will say, who says it will produce electricity? It is doing now, it's like a magic, but who says it will do it next month? It may not do it next month. And what do we do after all this? So I see there are genuine problems. So after we see that people are not being attracted into that, is selling 4 or 5 solar home system per month is such a big deal. We cannot do that. It's a struggle. We are struggling so hard, but we didn't give up. We kept trying, then came up with an idea. And suddenly it picked up. The idea is we go to the people, say, how much money you spend on kerosene every month? Everybody's buying kerosene to have this kerosene lamp, so they must be spending some money. They said, I spend X amount of money. Somebody said, I spend Y amount of money. I said, okay. Let's make a deal. You give me the money that you spend for kerosene every month, and I give you the solar energy at your home. You have electricity. You continue to do it for 3 years. Every month you pay the same amount, the kerosene money. And after 3 years of paying that, you don't have to pay a penny. It's all yours. And this thing will go on for years and years and years. You don't have to pay anybody anything. People say, is it true? I said, it's true. Why don't you try? If you try, if you do it 1 month, you do it 2 months, and you say, no, it doesn't work out good, you abandon it, return it. You don't have to pay a penny after that. And people said, it's a good deal. Then people started paying attention to it. And suddenly it became a hot subject. Everybody wants to have a solar home system. Right now, we have over 2 million homes with solar system in Bangladesh. And we became almost 10 years back. This is now 23rd year of that company. 10 years back, when we were 13 or 14-year-old, we became the largest off-grid solar home system in the whole world. Wow. Because it doesn't happen anywhere. Now we are so much far ahead. We provide 2 million homes, and all the NGOs and everybody, they got excited about the whole idea because everybody wants that. So they got into the business. Together, all the NGOs put together, they have another 2 million homes. So we have 4 million homes right now in Bangladesh with solar home system. It's a huge, huge system. Now we are using the solar power for irrigation and many other things. And we're talking about having electric cars with solar batteries and so on and so forth. Solar powered batteries and so on and so forth. So it's a whole range of things opens up. It's a social business.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. And
it's a nationwide. It's not just a tiny one anymore.
No.
Started in a tiny one, but it's a nationwide company.
And I can go so many different directions with that because, we talked about earlier, and I think it's really interesting when, in your latest book, you're really talking about the fundamental questioning of capitalism. And we talked about replication to achieve scale, and what your vision is around how are we going to go from these little ideas that we're testing out here into a transformational space where we can actually get to solving the problems. And let's go with that one. I got a couple follow-ups on that. But but this issue around holding this question of scale through the power of micro. Just talk to us a little bit about your vision on how you see all this building towards the bigger change.
Yeah. We started doing little things. That's our specialization is. We do little things. But as we do little things, we confront big issues as we go on. And one big issue that we confront, people keep asking us our opinion. Why poverty? Why people become poor? Why people remain in poverty? What's wrong with those people? So I have to come up with my explanation of that. And my explanation always comes to the same conclusion, looking at what the experience that we have gone through. I keep telling that, look, poverty is not created by the poor people. So it is not something created by themselves. Poverty is created by the system that we practice around us. So the poverty is imposed from outside on people. So if you want to remove poverty, what should you do? If this explanation is right. So no use to work with the poor people to get them to get out of poverty. They can't, because it's coming from outside. So you have to go outside, fix the system. If you fix the system, remove the barriers in front of them, they will be as good as anybody else. And I try to explain it by saying, excuse me, people are like bonsai, the bonsai tree, that you take the seed of the tallest tree in the forest and put it in a flower pot to grow. And it will grow, but it will not grow as tall as the one that you saw in the forest. It will be 2 feet high or 3 feet high. That's about it. It will be cute little tree. You'll love it. It's exact replica of the one that you saw, but not the way the other one is growing. This one doesn't grow anymore. And we call it bonsai. And we love them. I said, poor people are bonsai people. There is nothing wrong with their seed. Simply, society never gave them the space on which to grow. Like the bonsai was not given space, the soil, so they couldn't grow. So the poor people are the people which society never gave them the space to grow. If we had that space, they would be as tall as everybody else. There's nothing wrong with the seed. So that is the cause, that's the problem. And where is the seed of poverty in the system? And first I pinpoint, look at the way financial system works for them. It doesn't work at all. Almost half the world population, world has 8 billion people. 4 billion people have nothing to do with the financial system. Who do they depend on? They have to go on for finding money for themselves to overcome their problems. They go to loan sharks. They go to payday lenders. They go to pawn shops. But no bank will touch them. Everywhere in the whole world. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about Toronto or you're talking about Dhaka. Doesn't matter. Same system. I said, that's where system went wrong. Didn't design the things. When we designed Grameen Bank, suddenly it changed everything. People have access to money. People start doing things. They start earning money. They didn't say, oh, I'm so poor, I cannot run a business. No, give me the money, I'll start a business. That's why millions and millions of women take money from microcredit programs to change their life, and that's what they're doing. So this is one. And then I talk about differences or the flaw in the whole capitalist system, misinterpretation of a human being. They interpret human being in the wrong way in the capitalist system. They think human beings are driven by self-interest only, meaning selfishness. So you make the whole world a selfish world because you said human beings are driven by self-interest. I said that's a completely wrong interpretation of human. Human beings are selfish, at the same time they are selfless, as strongly as they are selfish. But you never use the selfless part. So as a result, we create a selfish world, and that creates a world of extreme wealth concentration. All the wealth of the world is concentrated in few hands. 1% of the world population own more wealth than 99% of the entire wealth of the world. What kind of economy is that if all the wealth is in hands of few people? And now 8 people in the whole world own more wealth than bottom 50% of the world population. Only 8 people. Can you imagine that? And then it becomes smaller next year. Not 8 people, 4 people, 3 people would be owning more wealth than the bottom 50%. And soon we'll have 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 50%. This is the direction we are going very fast. So I said, this is a ticking time bomb because we created a system which sucks up all the wealth and pushes in the top. That cannot be a system which is kind of sustainable for the entire planet, entire world. So we have to undo that system. We have to redesign that system. So this is the direction, to find the flaws in the system so that we don't see the problem that we have created in the past.
It's you're talking about really a space that is dear to my heart. It's this intersection between social enterprise and social innovation. And if you take that word social innovation and you understand that what social innovation brings us is a systems lens, right? It offers us the ability to look at an ecosystem at the systems level and to be able to find the opportunities to intervene to fix the system, and then to be able to leverage the power of social enterprise as a part of the solution to solving that system. I mean, I just think what you've done is an extraordinary example, and I guess it speaks for me so deeply to the challenge ahead of us, to taking the ideas, these small ideas, replicating, so that we can reclaim a piece of that. How would you do it? The 1% to get us to 2%, or however we want to, move in a general direction. And I see that your work has been so incredibly inspiring and influential for so many of us. And I wonder if you can comment on what you think are some of the greatest threats to this movement, as so many of us are taking up and building our own businesses and our own social enterprises. What do you see as some things that you would ask us or invite us to pay attention to prevent us making any mistakes you might have made along the way? Although I don't think any possibly, really, but never, right?
If you're not making mistake, you are not a businessman.
Yeah.
You have to make mistakes. That's what human beings are all about. Yeah. But you correct yourself, move into the right direction. On the threat part, I would say mindset is a big threat. Once it gets into your head, you cannot change it. It stays with you no matter, even if you show the opposite of what you believe right in front of you, demonstrate it, still you cannot grab it because it's in your mind. You cannot change your mind. So how to get to the mind in the proper way before it gets polluted by wrong ideas and wrong things. That's why education becomes very important. Education, not only the formal sense of school, education within home, mothers, parents, talking about the children. Like if the parents are telling the children that, look, son, look, daughter, you have 2 ways of doing business in life. You can do business to make money for yourself, or you can do business to change the world. It's up to you. So you figure it out which way you want. And you can do both. There's no problem. You can do business to make money. At the same time, you can do business to solve the problems. So it's up to you how much of business to make money and how much of business to change the world. You have to figure it out. It's your decision. Nobody can put it into your head. So if you do that, then they go to the school. They said, tell me about business to make money and business to solve problems. Then school has to teach you, these are the options you have. These are the ways that, and then give examples of how we're making money with businesses, how we're changing the world with the businesses we now call social business. So you grow up with this question, what should I do? That's an important thing. That was not in our education system that our generation grew up. Our generation grew up, go to school, go to the best school possible, get the best grade possible so that you get the best job in the best company. That's the end of life. As if The destiny of human life is to get a job. I cannot figure that out. How can destiny of a human being, which is such a huge entity with lots of unlimited creative power, end their life at the very beginning by getting the job? Once the job is done, finish. It's done, finish. All I have to do, wait for my retirement age, I get the pension, and that's it. That's a too small a thing for a human being. So I keep saying that human beings are not born to work for somebody else. Human beings are entrepreneurs. But the capitalist system pushed that in the wrong direction. Why? Because they want to make this greedy world greedier and concentrating on the world at the top. And if we don't work for them, how do they get money? How do they accumulate wealth? So we have to work for them so that they can get the wealth. I said, we are not mercenaries in this planet to help other people to concentrate, and we don't get anything. We belong to the 99.9% of the people who get only a fraction of percentage of the wealth in the whole world. 99% of the wealth belongs to them. We don't get it because of the way we have been helping them so that they can accumulate that. If you all become entrepreneurs, just for a second you imagine, you all became entrepreneurs. Will there be wealth concentration? No way. Because we'll be catching wealth in our own way. Because we are actors now. We are players. We are not mercenaries for them. Whatever we do, we bring it to them. So all the wealth will be shared by us because we are entrepreneurs. Some will have a bigger piece, some will have a smaller piece, not concentration. So that's the world, just by twisting one flaw in the system, that we are either job seekers or we are entrepreneurs. That's the decision have to be taken in the schooling, in the education system, make it happen. Once we sort it out, this is my choice, whether I should work for you or I should go for my business on my own. And that's the choice I have to have. And with artificial intelligence coming, this is a good point to introduce this subject. What happens to our jobs? None. It's all done, finish, very soon. They say in the next 25 years, most of the jobs will disappear. Most. And human intelligence, the artificial intelligence will be equal to human intelligence by that time. After that, artificial intelligence will be superior intelligence than human intelligence. So what are we doing in this planet in that situation when compared to artificial intelligence, our intelligence will appear like intelligence of a cockroach. And this is the direction we are going. And we don't utter a word about it. I said, shouldn't we say very boldly that no way you cannot do that? This is our world. This is the world we create. We do not create a machine to work under them. And they became eliminated from this planet because we don't. This is a nuisance. Human beings are nuisance. Get rid of them. Because they're so superior. We don't need so many cockroaches around the planet. Finish. So when we talk about technology, technology must have some social guidelines. Which direction technology should go, which direction technology must not go. Technology, just because it's technology doesn't mean it's a pure thing. Technology can do good things. Technology can do terribly bad things. So how to stop the terribly bad things? So we need a guideline. We need all the countries of the world get together at the United Nations to get some guidelines for the guidelines for the technology development. We should be using artificial intelligence only to solve the problem of healthcare. So only thing that we produce so that healthcare becomes available to everybody without cost. It doesn't take any money. Because artificial intelligence can solve all these problems that we have with very simple things, but we make it complicated and make it very expensive, medical expenses and so on and so forth. Education, information, and so on and so forth. That's what the artificial intelligence, not to take away my job, not to take away my business, that I want to create my business and so on and so forth. So those are the issues that comes immediately as we go forward. What kind of world that we want. That will guide us, our decisions right now.
Wow. No, you've headed into an amazing direction. I don't even know where to go, and I'm so excited that I'm nervous. It's exciting. It's awesome. At CSI, we've been looking at this area of of basic income.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm listening to you, I'm wondering, is that just a coping mechanism? Do we need to draw a line around things like artificial intelligence? And, I guess I wonder if you have an opinion on basic income. Is that something that you think would be important?
Of course. I have.
Okay, I could do anything. How about flower gardening? No.
I have been arguing this for many years, talking about the welfare system.
Yeah.
I said, welfare is a wonderful idea. It helps people who are in distress. So we should, as a community, as a society, we should help the people who are in distress. That's where the welfare comes. We all contribute so that he or she can take care of themselves. We give them money, food every month so that they can take care of themselves. I said, that's the important part, but this is one part of the whole response. The other part is more important than the first part. That has to be done both. First part is taking care of the people who are in distress. Second part, once we put them into that welfare, second part is to how to help them get out of the welfare. Yeah. That part, nobody's interested. Politicians enjoy bringing people into the welfare because it's a budget money. You sign a document and money flows into them. Okay, they take care. They don't make political trouble, and they become popular because each party can campaign that if you send me to the power, get government, I'll increase your welfare money. I'll give you these facilities, as if that's the goal. The goal is to help them get out, be a full human being, a creative human being, rather than somebody, a prisoner into welfare system. Welfare system is a prison because not only you become a welfare recipient, your children become welfare recipient, your grandchildren become welfare recipient. There are generational welfare recipients and so on. So that you have taken away the human quality of those people by keeping them that way. But this can be done. Is taking 5 or 10 welfare people out of welfare by creating social business. Is this a big task? It's not a big task. We can design that business in 15 minutes, get together and create that and make it happen that yes, 10 people with willingness came out of the welfare and became a full citizen, creative citizen, productive citizen because you created a business for them. It could be done. If we know how to take 10 people, 5 people out of welfare and demonstrate that it can be done, all you have to do is to repeat this. You can take 5 million out of it. Same system. And you cover all your costs. It's not a charity that you have to spend this money and lots of budget money has to go. No, just the financing. It's all question of financing. Create some financial system to do that. So these are the questions. Now you're telling me universal basic income. If you read it in the kind of subtitle, it says universal welfare system. Because somebody will give you the money, the government or whoever gives you the money, and you sit there, do nothing. I said, is this the human life you're dreaming about? We are dreaming about human life, human being as an entity with endless creative power. Use that creative power, unleash that creative power, and make things happen. Instead, you said, no, you don't do anything. Just sleep and take care of yourself. I'll give you everything. That's not a society that I dream of. That's not a human being that I think worth being a human being in that situation. So universal income is another name for universal welfare system. We don't want to live. We want to be creative. We want to take care of ourselves. We want to take care of the rest of the world. That's what the human life is all about.
Wow.
You didn't like it?
No, I like it. I actually think it's great. Like, I think we see eye to eye on this idea of a job. I think it's a ridiculous concept that we've built entire government systems trying to create jobs, and this is the indicator that we're supposed to build our entire society around. And I think it's crazy because nobody wants one. Nobody wants a job. They want a vocation. They want to be creative. They want to have meaning in their life. They want to add value to each other. And we keep thinking that the word job is a proxy for all of those other things. But if we go beneath, and I think what you're saying is if we go beneath the constructs of this, forgive the hyperbole here, but like almost a type of enslavement to this system, we have so many opportunities to create meaningful businesses, social businesses, to be able to meet our needs as a society, whether that's healthcare, education, food production, finance, looking at how we do exchange. And I think I think what I'm hearing is that you're calling for us to reclaim, in some way, reclaim our relationship with each other and how we live as a way to actually come up with these new business ideas that we think, if we can go to scale with these, that we might be able to solve these problems.
I agree completely. Just to add one more thing in that issue of the job and so on. I always feel that human being is a most creative being, is unlimited creative power and so on. But the job doesn't recognize that.
No, not at all.
The moment you take a job, you transform the giant of a human being with creative power to become a minuscule human being to fit into a slot. So you compromise all your creative power, because job doesn't need all your creative power. Sometimes they will even shout at you because you tried to be creative. No, stay online. This is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you don't cross the line. You're crossing the line because you want to be creative. So right from the day one that you join the job, your supervisor always yelling at you. No, this is how you're supposed to do it. And your little supervisor creates a little human being to fit into that little slot. So that's the end of your life. Your capacity as a human being, what you had inherited, you have inherently inside of you, you have given it up just for the sake of making a living for yourself. And that's not the society that we should be creating for ourselves. Because we want to be creative, we want to be entrepreneurial, that's what we are. We are farmers, we are gatherers, we are hunters. That's where we are coming from. We are basically problem solvers. Today, we are not problem solvers. We are only doing those tiny little things. And that slot will grow a little slightly bigger, but still you're a tiny little human being compared to the giant human being that you are. So that's what I'm complaining about.
I got it. You guys got it? Got it? I'm interested in how you think we can best get there. We're in a developed country. We have an extraordinary country that we're here in, and it's everybody in this room, I suspect, is an urban. We're in an urban. Most of us probably don't know where our food came from tonight. We're disconnected from those farms and from that land. And I guess I seek your advice on how we get from where we are here in this developed environment, and how do we ground test what you're saying into some practical next steps?
Whether you're in a well-off country, rich country, or a poor country, doesn't matter. People are the same quality, same thing, the seed. Mm-hmm. Now you need the social context to make it grow. If you want to start, the starting point, as I was explaining, should be home. As you grow up as a child, 1-year-old, 2-year-old children, tell them what their life is all about, that when you grow up, what you'll be doing. So give them the option. You don't have to decide for them. Give them the option that you can be a job seeker or you can be a job creator. This is up to you to decide. You can be an entrepreneur. If you become an entrepreneur, this is the path you have to take. If you want to work for somebody, this is the path you have to take. And these are the kind of things that you'll face as a job seeker. These are the problems you'll face as a job creator, as an entrepreneur. So that as a child, you grow up in this idea, what is that I have to choose? So I choose and go to the education and so on and continue to do that. And I come up with my own decision, which way we should be going. And that's the beginning point. In Bangladesh, we started this issue. The reason I came up with these issues, we have the whole 9 million borrowers in Grameen Bank, mostly women, 97% women. And their children, and they grow up. Second generation came. Second generation, we send them to school, make sure they have good education. They did good education. But then there's no job in the country. With 9 million families alone in Grameen Bank, you have at least, if you have 2 children per family, per borrower, you have 18 million children coming up. Mm-hmm. So where is the find of job? There's no job. And they complained, there's no job in the country. And then I said, why are you looking for a job? They got very surprised. Everybody's looking for a job. That's why I'm looking for a job. I said, no, job is a wrong idea. It's an obsolete idea. It should have been removed from our books.
Nobody owes you a job.
Yeah. So they said, what do we do? I said, be what you want to be. As an entrepreneur, start a business, start your income, and so on and so forth. Nobody taught us how to become an entrepreneur. We don't know what a business is. We never taught in our classroom how do you start a business. They tell us how to appear in a job interview. But they don't tell us how to start a business. I said, well, forget about your school. They have give you wrong education. Look at your mother. Your mother joined Grameen Bank 30 years back. She's an illiterate woman, a woman from a village who never crossed the boundary of her village in her entire life. She doesn't know the rest of the world. She knows only her family, neighbors, that's all. She had the courage to stand up and ask for a loan so that she can start a business. And she took this responsibility of taking a loan from a bank, $30 loan or a $40 loan, and start a business. And ever since, she's paying back the loan, taking the next loan and the next loan and the next loan. And that's where you're born. You are telling me after all this education that you got, you don't know how to start a business? How come your mother knew how to start a business? You know why? Because she's a natural human being. You are an artificial human being. Your education made you an artificial. All you learned how to work for somebody else, nothing else. You forgot. She didn't forget. She knew that if she had the money, she can start a business. She didn't go to a business school. She didn't have a special courses on how to run a business, how to do accounting, nothing. But she ran a business. And millions and millions of them all around the world doing that. If illiterate women, in millions of them, can become entrepreneurs, what is wrong with this education? What is wrong with the educated young people that they have to do job? We tell them, come with business ideas. If you don't have business ideas, go to your mother. Discuss with her. Because she's running a business. You are a lucky kid because you have in-house consultant, business consultant, with the long experience of 30 years. If not anything else, whatever she is doing, make it 10 times bigger because you have the capacity. You're a young man with education. She doesn't have education. He doesn't know anything outside. So she remains within what here. You can expand it. You can make it a global business. Money is not your problem. We have the money. So what we have done, we created a social business venture capital fund. Tell the young people, come with business ideas. Now they come with business ideas. We invest in their business. We become their partners. So that they don't feel scared. Oh, I don't take a loan. How am I going to pay back? So no, it's not a loan. It's my investment. I'm your partner. You make it successful, just return the money after you become successful. Because we are social business, we are not interested in your profit. You keep the profit, just give the money back to us, whatever I gave you. And then I give it to somebody else so that they become a businessman and so on and so forth. Now thousands and thousands of these young people come with business ideas. They don't say that we don't have a business idea. Now they learn from each other. Once the process begins, suddenly they have 101 ideas at the same time. And each one better than the other one. And each one, I can do much better business than she's doing, he's doing. I can do a better one. So now there's a whole series of them coming. I said, money is not a limitation. You keep on doing, expanding it, and continue to do that. So that's how transformation takes place. There is not only unemployed young people in Bangladesh. There are 40% of the young people in Spain are unemployed. And whole generation will remain unemployed forever because they will never get a job because the new young people are coming. The old unemployed young people become older unemployed young people. So the new generation, they will have some jobs, but not the older ones. So they are known as missing generation. They will be completely missed. And same is Portugal. In Greece, it's almost like 70% youth unemployment. So what kind of economy that we are talking about? Young people with full energy, full creative power, full technology in their hand, not doing anything, sitting idle, because they are told you are unemployed. As if unemployment means I cannot lift my fingers anymore. Somebody has put a spell on me. because we believe the job is the only survival for us. We do not use our talent for any other purpose. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. I said, if we are teaching the history of the world in 2018, say 50 years from now or 60 years from now in the classroom, young people learning that in 2018, there are a lot of unemployed young people in Toronto. The classroom will say, what is unemployment? They don't know what is unemployment. Oh, well, they have no job. What is a job? Oh, they have to do something, so money, so that they can earn something. Why are they looking for those earning money to somebody else, work with somebody else? Are they sick? Are they incapable to do business on their own? No, they're not sick. Then why unemployed? They're not. Why are they sitting? If they are young, if they are enterprising, if they have knowledge, why should they sit around not doing anything? They cannot believe that such a situation could exist. It looks so absurd. But today we do it as, she's unemployed, she doesn't do anything. As answer is given. That answer is not given. We have not explained why somebody with full energy, full capacity, sits there, do nothing, and call themselves unemployed. So that's a question that we have to raise, and we have to answer that question. Why? Is it some kind of a magic or a spell that you put into? You can't move anymore because you are under a spell? We don't have any spell. If there is a spell, there's a spell of wrong thinking that got into our head that we are not supposed to do anything because we are unemployed. Otherwise, you cannot explain that.
It's. I think that's a good challenge, eh? What do you think? Who for whom in this room is this like a new kind of thought? Everybody's afraid. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You know, I think one of the things that's so exciting and interesting about what you're saying, and I'm about to open it up to questions, by the way. I'll take 3. They better be good ones. You know, one of the things that I've pondered long and hard at my, who owes us anything, right? Like, this idea that we are entitled to a job, that I demand a job. It's always been for me a very odd ask. And it ties in really closely to something I feel strongly about, which is like, and nobody's going to give you permission. Like, if you decide that you want to take matters into your own hands and step up, nobody's going to say, there's nobody, you don't have to ask permission. You can just do it. And then if somebody doesn't like it, they'll tell you. But this whole idea that we're waiting for something or someone to give us permission to start or to try something, or we're looking for somebody's approval. I think this is sort of, for me, it's like the first thing. It's like, well, nobody's going to say, good idea, go for it. Inevitably, the role of an entrepreneur is being able to take on, something, maybe not waiting so much for permission, but just giving it a shot. And I think your life and the stories of all of the enterprises and the businesses that you have been a part of creating, they demonstrate for me some really important learning that I think we could take. One is, you didn't give up. You started with a problem. There was a very clear problem in all of these cases. And you worked that problem, and you experimented, and you tried things, and you were grounded. In a sense, it was like lean business model canvas all over the place, right? You're in there, you're testing, you're adapting, you're giving it, you're figuring out the different places, and always coming up with a creative way or an upside down way, as you said earlier today. If they do it if establishment does it one way, I'm going to go look the other way and try it the other way. And this is, I think, a profoundly important insight. We can't keep doing the same thing we've always done, or we're always going to get what we already have. So how do we start thinking differently? I'm going to open it up. I got 3 questions. Oh, I know there's only 3. I'm going to take one from the back, that gentleman who is first. You can stand up, please. And we're going to do this, and then I'll take one from here, and then I'm going to go to here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I just also know that I have to responsibly get people out. So the gentleman in the back.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm going to start by a controversial statement here. Or
Maybe I should have picked somebody else.
Trust me, you will not regret Trust me, you won't regret the question.
Don't pontificate.
Okay. The question is, how do we take your learnings and apply it to the society and community here? Because the needs are different. And the reason I said I'll be a little controversial is this. I have often thought of trying to help people around me who are on the streets.
Can you bring it closer to your...
Oh, sorry. I've tried to I have thought about this, go to people on the street, maybe try to help them out of the situation. Now, the difference is this. People who needed the money in Bangladesh did not have addictions or mental issues. A lot of the people on the street often end up in those circumstances because of those reasons. So can you help us understand how we can take your learnings and go help these people with those constraints? Because they need help as well. So while we might have this glamorous GDP, which is X number of factors compared to Bangladesh, but I don't know how to take that learning and apply it to my community right here, if you can comment on that.
Yeah. For a long time, I was told that they tried microcredit in the USA. Many ways, many different organizations tried that, but it didn't work. So they came to the conclusion that USA is such a different kind of society, and they're poor and not as poor as the people in Bangladesh. The microcredit doesn't work in a situation like United States. Every time I heard it in a conference, people explaining that, I always contested it. I said, no, that's not true. People are people everywhere, whether it's Bangladesh or it's USA, doesn't matter. They behave the same way. Then how come our work didn't succeed in the USA through so many other different organizations? I said, for a simple reason, none of you knew how to do it. So don't blame the people for your ignorance. Then they get very mad at me. In one occasion in New York, when this debate was going on, I said that, and somebody stood up, said, why didn't you come to the United States and do it and show it that it can be done? And I said, yes, I would like to do that, show that, yes, it can be done. You give me the money and I'll do the job. I cannot bring money from Bangladesh to lend money to the poor people in the United States. Then after the meeting, somebody met me in a room that I want to talk to you. How much money will you need to start a program in the United States? So I made calculations, sat down with him, asked some questions, and came out with a number, some $1 million that you need to do that for one branch. He said, yes, for one branch, I'll provide all the money you need. Will you do that? I said, I'll do that. So that was the beginning of what we now call Grameen America. It started in Jackson Heights, New York. It's a beautiful branch. Now there are 20 branches all over the United States, in Omaha, Nebraska, Charlotte, North Carolina, in Boston, in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, and so on and so forth. 20 branches. They have more than 100,000 borrowers in all this. All women, 100% women. And the startup loan is about $1,500. And their repayment over the 10 years, always perfect. Near 100%, 99.6 and above. Now works. And always self-sustaining. They cover all their costs. It's not a charity program. So what you say that is different, I'm saying they're not different. There are people who had the addictions and so on. There are other problems in Bangladesh too, may not be this. And addiction is a problem. But as I was explaining to you, I hope I communicated to you well, saying that we create a business to solve the problem. If addiction is a problem, my first response is to create a business to solve it. I can do that. And all of you can do that. Just think about it, how to create a business to help people get out of addiction. This can be done. It's a question of designing it right. It's not the first time it's happening. You know how much addiction there is in Bangladesh? Almost we can compete with Toronto. So it's not something just happens in Toronto and nowhere else. World is the same place. People behaved exactly the same way wherever you are. And same thing can be replicated. If you have solved the problem of addiction in Toronto by a social business, that will be used all over the world because you found a solution to a problem. And everybody will come and fall on your feet to find out how you did it. So that you can, because that's the power all of us have to create that example. All you need to do, create an example to take 5 addicted persons out of addiction by creating a business, a social business. In your first try, you may fail. In the second try, you may succeed a little bit. In the third try, you may hit it. Possible. But you keep on trying. You try, I try, she tries. Somebody will figure that out and find a way. And that's what will happen. So that's the challenge I'm making, that it's not give up, that no, we are different. So don't tell me anything. I will keep on telling you, we are not different. We are same. If you look at all human beings and the entire world, if you look at the differences and similarities, I would say 98% of the world is about similarities. Only 2% probably is the dissimilarity. But we blow up the dissimilarity so much as if that is 100% of the people. That's not true. It's only 2%. You just ignore it. You go back to the basic human being, which is exactly the same. People, you see the same way, same thing. Even if you don't speak in the language they speak. You know, they wanted to start a microcredit program in Guatemala. They asked us to help them. So we sent some people from Bangladesh to help them to set up microcredit program in Guatemala. So we trained them in the Spanish language because we don't speak Spanish in Bangladesh. We only speak a little bit of English, but no Spanish. So we trained them to get a course in Spanish, go there. And once they arrived in Guatemala, they got a further course in Spanish, and then they were sent out to start the program. 3 years later, I was visiting them. They have created beautiful branches and so on, and I was visiting. And all the women gathered in one place to display their work, that's what they do. And our staff that we send them, they're speaking to them in their language. So I'm congratulating them. They're so fluent in the language already in the 3-4 years' time. They said, you know what? We are not speaking Spanish. So no, they're supposed to speak Spanish. No, none of them even understand Spanish. These are all Mayan people around Lake Atitlan. We have 3 branches in 3 different spots of Lake Atitlan, and they speak 3 different languages. None of them anything close to Spanish. So each of us has to learn a different language. When I speak, he doesn't understand. And he speaks, I don't understand. Because he learned one language, I learned another. I said, in the beginning, you didn't have the language. How do you do that? He said, it's very easy. We have a common language between us. What is the common language? He said, money is the common language. They understand money very perfectly. No problem at all. So that's how we went, and everything went perfectly. And in the process, we wanted to communicate with them. So language is a big thing. So it's not the language which creates the barrier. It's the common interest. If you don't have common interest, that creates the barrier. If you have common interest, language is not a problem at all. It will happen sooner or later.
Beautiful. All right, we got the next question.
Hi, it's an honor to hear you speak. I've been following you for 25 years, so
wow.
Thank you. I understand education is very important for young people, but beyond that, for people who are a bit older, who grew up in this society where you're very focused on the system and wealth creation and profit and external validation and success. Any ideas or experience you've had in successfully helping people change their mindset, their beliefs, their behaviors to focus on more than just those financial results?
When we talk about education, again, this is my way of looking at education. We think about schools, classrooms, teachers, and so on. To me, that's not important. Education, for me, education is knowing myself, who I am. But the schools are made to learn what is mathematics, what's history, what's geography, what's physics, chemistry, and so on. So tell you everything, give you everything. But they never talk to you who I am. Why am I here? I think that's the most essential part of learning process. As I grow, That's the first thing that I should be grappling with. And my parents will be helping me who I am. And my school should be helping me who I am. And what is it that I will be doing in this planet? I have to have an objective in my life. School has nothing to do with objective. Only objective is get a job. That is not an objective at all. As I said, human being is born for do much bigger things. So I have to have imagination what I want. Imagination is not what we deal in our schools. Imagine what kind of world that we would like to create. I think most important thing in life is imagination. Be as wild as possible in imagination, because it doesn't cost you anything to be wild in imagination. And you make it happen. Once you imagine it, remember whether it is active imagination or a passive imagination. Passive imagination, you lie down and dream about everything. You don't do a thing about it. That's the passive imagination. Active imagination, I dream of something and I say, why not? And go behind it. If you imagine in active imagination, it will happen. Even if you fail, it will happen because you imagine. If you don't imagine, it will never happen. Because things to happen needs an imagination. And that's what we'll encourage our young people to imagine. What kind of world, what kind of society, what kind of family. Imagine, don't follow what it is. That's why I encourage people to watch science fiction. I said, unfortunately, science fiction has done so wonderful things, but we have not done anything on social fiction. Why don't we write social fiction? What kind of society we want? Have crazy things about us. This is the way we want to live. This is the what we want to do. This is the interaction we have. This is the world. We want to create a world. There is no boundary called there's a border here, there's a border there. There is none. They talk about border. What is a border? They don't understand. It's an imagination. If you keep on imagining, because this is the thing we want, that's imagination, then it will happen. If you don't want anything, how can something happen? So I would bring that imagination in the classroom, whatever you do, introduce to the world and so on. Then bring the knowledge part of it, how to use this knowledge for a purpose. Without purpose, knowledge is meaningless. What do you do with knowledge? You put your finger in the computer, you get all the knowledge. So what? You have to have a purpose for which we need the knowledge and then make it happen. And that's the direction that I will go. Thank you.
Last question.
Okay.
Make it a good one.
I'm pretty loud.
No, right here.
No, you have to hear you.
And everybody in the back wants to hear too.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Yunus, for being here. This might overlap with the last one, so I apologize. I teach at the University of Waterloo. I teach a course in social entrepreneurship, and one of my students is actually here today too, so we're so grateful for you to be here. My question is around, for those of us who are trying to reform education systems, for example, you talk about system change from the inside, to more universally adapt the kind of mindset you speak of, because I also believe in the holistic learning that I'm hearing you speak of, the purpose-driven learning, to move beyond individual courses into whole universities that are focused in that way. Do you have advice for those of us teaching and learning in that space?
Well, now it's possible because individually you can start something different because with the technology at our disposal, if people start enjoying what you're doing, it will spread, it will continue. There are many examples now using the internet facilities and so on. So easy to communicate. If children love it, their parents love it, what you're doing, it's purposeful learning and it's taking some direction. And many people will come to you. So why don't you help us with our children to make things happen in their life? Initially, they will say, in addition to what they learn in school, they need a certificate. Do that so that it's an extra. Soon they'll say they don't need the certificate. You know, if we all become entrepreneurs, funny thing will happen. We don't need certificate. You need certificate for a job because otherwise they will not know who you are. You have to prove yourself by presenting a piece of paper signed by somebody in the head of the school. And you cannot start your life until you get that piece of paper. But if you're an entrepreneur, you can do it anytime you want because you don't need to present any paper to anybody. Mm-hmm. You could be in school, high school, junior high. You start a business. and carry on your schooling and your business at the same time. Many of the top business people in the world started their business in school and college. You know that all the stories about that. They didn't have any certificate. So, but we need certificate because we are not going to be businessmen. We want to find a job, start and when you start a job, you start at the bottom because you cannot jump at the top. So it takes a lot of time to move step by step. By that time, you're exhausted. When you come to the position that you can use some flexibility in your life, you're so exhausted, you're already maneuvered into doing very little thing. You can't do bigger thing. So answering your question is possible. It's something. There are lots of experimental things. You can do that. Thank you.
Best thing to use education for is to start a business.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, get in there and try it out. But I mean, it's amazing. I have to say, this conversation has gone, this afternoon's conversation, we examined capitalism. I think it's fair to say that we figured out how to manage that piece. But to, we took that down. But tonight, I think we did something even more important. I think you schooled us on being human. And I learned a new word, and I've got a new passion now to encourage people to start writing social fiction, which is amazing. And I think that somebody's got to start a campaign to get a charter to protect humans from technology. I'm not sure I worded that properly. And I know that my teenage boys are definitely not going to be going to university. So that's what I got. Sadly, one of them, McGillen, thinks he wants to be a lawyer. I'm not so sure that's a good idea. I've been trying to tell him it was overrated. Dr. Yunus, such a pleasure, an incredible privilege, an honor. I'm still giddy. I didn't know if I'd have energy for round two, and I'm giddier than before. I know I speak for all of us when I thank you for coming to join us in Canada, coming to grace us with your wisdom and your insight here in Toronto and at the Center for Social Innovation. Thank you so much, and thank you all for coming. I've been asked to tell you that we really cannot hang around too long, so move this way at least so that we can start at the back and work our way out. Thank you all for coming.
one thing that's